welcome everyone again to the NAATI certification testing information session for the Certified Provisional Interpreter and also the Certified Interpreter.
Can I just check if you all can hear? Sorry, let me double check this. Yes, okay, so that's okay, all right. So I think you can see the screen from here, but I also have the slides in Collaborate, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to start by an acknowledgement of country and just by saying that NAATI acknowledges and pays respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional custodians of this land and speakers of its first languages. And in the spirit of reconciliation, NAATI acknowledges the richness that Indigenous, signed and all other languages bring to Australia, and the role interpreters and translators play in connecting us all. Okay, just an overview of what I'll be covering today. Just a brief introduction to NAATI, the application process. I'm going to mention the continuous improvement program, then go into detail for the CPI test. I'm going to touch on the CI test because some of you, if not all of you or most of you, might like to consider that in the future. Resources, recertification, like I said a little bit, and then some question time. So let's start off with an introduction. So, as you know, we've already said what NAATI stands for, but NAATI is the National Standards and Certifying Authority for Translators and Interpreters in Australia, and the only organisation to issue certification to practitioners who wish to work in this profession in our country, but now also in New Zealand. So New Zealand is also using our certification process. I've got a short video to show you now about what about NAATI and what NAATI is. Let's hope this works. It's not working. Oh, it is. Okay. So as you can see now on the screen, this is our certification system model. So you would be, as interpreters, on this right side or the green side, and ignore this bit here because the recognised practicing interpreter credential is really only for emerging languages or languages that aren't tested currently, which may of course change. But all your languages are tested, so that's why you're the Certified Provisional Interpreter, going for that level. Then the Certified Interpreter is the next step up, and we are currently also testing Certified Specialist Interpreters in both the health and legal streams. As you can see, the Certified Conference Interpreter is on its own, so you do have to do different additional study to be a conference interpreter. So certification consists of 3 elements, and you're at this stage here, so you have to complete your formal training, and completing means passing it. Then you have to pass a really easy NAATI test, as opposed to what you said earlier, and then of course recertify every 3 years. The costs or the fees for the Certified Provisional Interpreter, unless you have a scholarship, anyone got a scholarship in this room?
Yes, we have one.
Okay, well you won't have to pay, that's great, is $583. Certified Interpreter, I will explain more about this later, but it does cost $330, but you do need to have both the CPI and CI in order to be a certified interpreter. A supplementary test, I'll talk about that later if you are eligible, and recertification is $220 every 3 years.
Sorry, so the fee is only for the certified inspector, $330 for the test?
Okay. Yes.
I've heard it's around $1,000.
Okay.
So that's very good numbers.
I know, because you know what? You don't always listen. What you hear is not always what it is. So we're from NAATI, so we can tell you exactly what it is. So yeah, it needs a bit of an explanation, and I've tried to put it here. So you can't just sit a certified interpreter test for $330 and be a certified interpreter. You have to also sit the CPI.
First, the CPI first.
You can do it in either order, actually. If you're eligible, you can do it in either order.
But I'm just saying, like, when I book now for my CPI, hopefully this second
Yes.
semester, I'll just have to pay $583.
Correct.
Once I pass it, that's it, I'm done. And then when I finish my advance, I apply for the CI, then another $330.
You
So
got
it's
it,
a
girl.
breakdown.
That's
Yes.
perfect.
Easy peasy.
Yeah,
Because I heard
lemon
$1,000
All right.
you know,
That's
oh
it.
God, it's
That's
lot.
it.
Yes.
All right, so it's under 1,000.
Yes, that's fine, unless it's split, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Now, I'm going to explain about the application process, and I would like you all to pay attention because you are actually now, you can, or you may if you want to, apply. And I know you haven't finished yet, but I'll tell you how you can apply. So you've got your application in, all right? So the first thing you need to do is get an ID document, a passport or a driver's license preferably. Australian, it has to be Australian if you use a driver's license or whichever passport you have. Then you need a copy of your transcript. Remember that shows that you've completed formal training, but you don't have that now. But what you do have or should have or would have is proof of enrolment. So temporarily, like a sort of like a placeholder, you can submit your proof of enrolment letter where it says, upload your transcript. You just upload that, just temporarily. Then, when you get your certificate of completion, you will then email that through to us so that it will help. It will make you eligible to sit the test. And photo ID. So there's the indication there of what the photo should look like, and you are allowed to smile. Okay, we don't have that restriction. All right, so the first step, hands up, is anyone got registered for a My NAATI account already?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, look at that, 2 of you, that's fantastic. 3, 4, love it. Okay, if you haven't, you can do that now. Okay, so afterwards, I'm going to give Bingley a PDF of this. It's got all the links in it, so you can just click on the link. You don't have to take photos or just, click on the link and it'll take you straight there. You can also get there by going to the NAATI website, and it's on your top right-hand side. So you go there, you register your new account or sign into it if you already have, and on the landing page, you'll see all these icons, and you need to select Submit an Application. And then it will take you to another page, and you need to select this, Certification and Recognised Practicing. All right? So there's a couple of options. Make sure you select that one. Then the next thing you do, if you've got your proof of enrolment, what happens is someone actually will assess your application. They'll say, oh, hang on, this person hasn't finished their course yet. So you'll get an email saying, look, when you finish your course, email us your transcript or your copy, and it's at that address there, info@naati.com.au. So once we receive it, we will upload it, and then you will receive an email saying that you're eligible to sit for a test. Woohoo! So you can then select a test date, and you do that again by logging to My NAATI. My NAATI is where everything that you'll need to do to know when you're an interpreter or translator. So that needs to be kept updated with all your contact details and everything else that needs to you need to know will be in there. So once you've logged back into it to select your test date, you'll get a page that looks like this. You need to select this icon from that landing page, which is Manage My Tests. Select your test date and payment option. There are a few different payment options. Of course, if you have a scholarship, you will need to upload your letter.
So if you have a scholarship, you won't be paying for the test?
Well, if that's what your, what it includes, like there are different types, I think, of bursaries and scholarships. It depends on what it says. Does it say that?
I think it does. So normally if you
It
look
normally
through
does,
your
but-
scholarship papers, they would say
Yeah.
whether it pays
You'd
for
have
the
to
test
read
or
it,
not.
read yours
Yeah.
carefully.
Sorry, Jennifer,
Yes.
can I ask one question?
Sure.
So when I actually look at the dates, all the different dates for the test. So in order to apply for a test, that's the page. Does it mean that I can just pick a date?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the
I
only
pick a
ones that are
date,
there are
and
the
then
ones that are available.
that are available. Yeah. So I pick a date, and then I guess you eventually got to go in to get the application approved, right?
Before you
Oh,
select
that
a
is
date, it has
before.
to be approved.
So it has to be
Or you have to
approved.
be deemed eligible.
So that
eligible
means
test.
that I can't pick a date from here yet, if you like. So
Correct.
if now we want to apply for a date, say, so if I said we're all graduating in December, so I like a date in January. So can I apply for it now? I can't, right? So I have to make sure that I graduate, I have the transcript, I send that in, and then I can come back to select the date. Okay?
Is that clear? Because that's a really important thing to know. Thank you, Bing Lee. Yeah, so as soon as you send your copy of completion or your proof, then it won't take long. Someone, a human, not me, someone else will actually look at your application and give it the big tick. And then you'll get an email saying, log into my NAATI, and they'll even give you a link, and you go there, and then you go to manage my test, and you select one. So see on this last column, it says seats available. So only the tests that have seats available will show up. I don't think ones that are 0 will show up. It's just the ones that are available. So if you don't see, you know that there's a test in March and you can't see it there, it's because all the seats are gone. But it doesn't mean that you can't go back in and check every, because people always opt out, and they postpone and for whatever reason. But the ones that show up there are the ones that are available at the time. Now, I know some of you might, because I got this question last time especially about Mandarin, that, there are some, there've been some additional sessions. So you're bound to find a spot when you finish the course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now we have taken the timing out, the duration out, have we? We used to have.
Yeah, it doesn't really reflect the actual length of the test, so it's just.
So you've
more
taken it out?
confusing. Yeah, I don't think it's there anymore.
Yeah, it's not there anymore because previously we did have questions. What is this 360 minutes or 540 minutes? People think that they have to wait that long.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. It's okay.
And someone actually said to me, "What my test is going to be 360 minutes long." And
yeah, no, I
everybody
understand.
had a shock.
So what happens is, if you're online, if you decide to do your test online, you'll be given an exact time that your test starts, closer to the test date. So if it does say it's 420 minutes, it's not. The test goes for about an hour or just over an hour. Okay. If you're online, you'll get a specific time. If you come face to face, you may have to wait. All right, because everyone comes in and then you'll go in. One person starts the first task and then the next person starts their first task and so forth. So there is a bit of waiting time. But online, you'll be given an exact time in a separate email closer to the date.
Thank you.
But just so you know, I might as well mention it now, that once you've enrolled to sit for a NAATI test, you will be invited to a candidate information session. So today is just an overall, student one. But you will be getting a specific candidate information session in either face-to-face or online testing, and they're two separate ones. So there's no need to feel afraid. All right, we will fill you up with all the information that you need. So getting back to this, once you do select your test, you'll be sent an invoice, and like I said, there are a few different methods of payment. So once you pay the invoice, that's when you are confirmed. Okay, So there are some rescheduling cancellation terms and conditions, but I'm not going to go into them, but it's good that you are worded up on those. All right, the next section is on the continuous improvement program. I'd love to have a show of hands to see if anyone's heard of this or knows anything about this. You won't be tested, it's not a test. It's just okay. So NATI's has been engaging in this continuous improvement program probably for the last, well, maybe almost 2 years. And it's come, and by saying that, I mean engaging with stakeholders from candidates to lecturers to examiners and so forth, and come up with a list of recommendations. So there's a whole big list, but I'm going to just tell you about the ones that are specific to you and the Certified Provisional Interpreter Test and the Certified Interpreter Test, which is summarised in this beautiful slide here, which shows that basically for the CPI test, nothing has changed, okay? So you still have 3 tasks, right? And so that hasn't changed. There's a little bit of a change, but just hold and I'll tell you. So it's either face-to-face or online, so it's still the same. It's from non-complex and non-specialised material, which is still the same, and there are 3 tasks, so that's the same. So once you've completed those, and of course, both directions, and they go for 10 to 12 minutes, no more than that. Once you've done that, or once you're eligible, I should say, because you could do this first. The CI test now, the biggest change, or the biggest change is that there's no more consecutive dialogue tasks in CI level. There used to be 8 tasks. Did you know that? There were 8 tasks, 2 of which were the consecutive dialogue tasks. So now with the continuous improvement programs, that we're improving things, and you've already shown us that you can do consecutive interpreting, so they're gone. But the other 6 remain. So you've still got 2 translations, 2 simultaneous monologues, and 2 consecutive monologues. So once you complete that and that, then you get CI.
CPI, you have 3 tasks. What if I pass 2, the 3rd one?
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, you're lucky if you get offered to do a supplementary test.
So you receive only what you failed the 1 test.
You just have to do that one. That's right.
Okay, not all of them.
Not all of them. But you can only do the supplementary test once. Just saying. Yes.
So I have a question about the CPI test. I just heard from where some rules of the CPI test has been changed. So the NATI, I'm not sure, so NATI will provide briefings for the 3 consecutive dialogues 3 days before the CPI tests.
Yes. So I'm going to go into lots more detail about that very soon. So once I do, if you still have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay. I'm going to just focus, like the main reason we're here is for the CPI test, so I'm going to focus on that first. So this test consists of 3 tasks from 3 different domains. 2 are consecutive interpreting face-to-face tasks, and they're face-to-face in person or face-to-face on video, and 1 is a consecutive interpreting remote dialogue task, which is a telephone task. So it's either a telephone task in person or it is a simulated telephone task online. The big news, which is what you were starting to talk about, is that now, well, when you take the test, we're starting actually of next week. As of next week, there is no more 15-minute preparation time, which I'm sure you would have been told or read about. You have 3 days as opposed to 15 minutes.
Wow.
Aren't you excited about that? Yes. I thought there'd be a bit more enthusiasm. You get 3 days to prepare. Wow. Okay. All right. Now, the other good news is all your preparation, you will get emailed. You'll have emailed 3 calendar days, not 3 business days, 3 calendar days before your test, the interpreting brief. You need to print those, do your prep, and then on that interpreting brief with the words that we send you, You can scribble notes on there. You can even do it on the back, right? So but it has to be on one sheet, all right? So you can bring that into your test, okay? Just that one sheet. Plus, of course, you can bring blank paper, whether it's loose leaf or notepad, as long as it's blank. I didn't write that there. It's on the next slide. Sorry, I'm racing ahead. But you can't use any electronic device, any dictionaries, nothing. You can't use anything during the task. And quite frankly, you don't have time to do that anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, it's the only preparation is 3 days before.
Just a question regarding this. Would this kind of preparation, the ease of more 3 days, the actual test stays at the same intensity, or you're making it harder so I'm giving us more?
Same.
Set.
Nothing's changed so far as that. Yeah.
Good idea.
All right. So you don't have any reasons to fail now. All right. So let's move on to something else that's changed. And this is really, really important. Okay. It's really important because it's the introduction stage of the task. Each stage there's an introduction, and this has actually changed after the continuous improvement program, right? So now, whether it be online or face-to-face, the English role play will let you in the door and greet you and ask you to come and sit down in a triangular formation and socially distanced too. So you'll be in a room with the middle. There'll be 2 role players either side of you. Now the English role play will greet you, ask you to take a seat, and then introduce themselves to you, and then ask you to introduce yourself to the role player in light, of course. So this is your opportunity, right, each and every one of you, to actually do the spiel that I know that are my team. Remember, I used to be a student here, so I know exactly the spiel that you all learn. You can do that. You don't have to do it, or you don't have to do it all. You can choose your own way of introducing yourself. We still ask that you don't use your real name, okay? I know that in the real world you might, and it's a default, you're sort of used to it. But if you are doing a police interview, for instance, it's best not to use your name. Just say the interpreter. Just say I'll be your interpreter for today. So if you do accidentally say your name, it's not a deal breaker. It doesn't matter. You're not going to be penalised. Nothing's going to happen to you because this part is not even recorded. All right, that's the other big thing. You've got this opportunity just to engage with your role player and talk a little bit about the reason why you're there.
Yeah, so this is what we're talking about when you start your interpreting. You tell the clients that, look, I'm your interpreter for today. Yeah, so everything you say here today will be confidential. Yeah, so please use first person. Yes, and please talk directly to each other. That sort of thing that we are talking about. Yeah. So you need to have that introduction.
Yep.
Yes.
Or you can have that introduction now, and it's I guess it's sort of official now that we are allowed to do it.
Yeah.
So for students, the advantage of that is that you sort of get yourself prepared into the role of an interpreter. So you get your warm up. And it's also an icebreaker as well. So you are not as nervous. So you said something that you are putting yourself, okay, I'm the interpreter now. Put yourself in that framework of mind that I'm going to be the interpreter today, okay? So this is what it is used for.
I think Bingley said something really important because, when you're in that room, whether it be virtual or real, we regard you as the interpreter, not as a candidate, not as a student, you're the interpreter, okay? So you've got to put yourself in that mindset and, act as the interpreter.
I have a question.
Yes.
Just when you mentioned that it's better not to mention the name, especially when you are interpreting your police. So I've just been a little bit of dramatic now. I'm thinking if you are interpreting for a gang people, for gangs, and then all that secrets. Have you heard any stories that, you've been in danger because of this, because you know all the information now, or?
No, I haven't heard of any stories. Right. So that's the answer to that question. But as you know, as an interpreter and the code of ethics, you can't obviously repeat anything that you've heard.
Yeah.
All right. So so the low role player will in turn will say, yep, thank you for, and he or she may also say something about why they're there. I'm here today to see if I can get, the pension or whatever it may be. And that will go for about a couple of minutes, no more than 1 to 2 minutes, right? Because that's quite a lot if you think about it. I don't think it'll go for any more than 2 minutes. All right, so let's say approximately 2 minutes. Conversation. Okay, this is not recorded. All right, so you will be engaged in that conversation, and then it'll be this is the task. Your attendance ID will be called out, and you will then be and that will come from the invigilator who will call out your ID, and then the English role player will say the magic words, 3 magic words, I call them, that you need to listen out for. Okay, let's start. So when you hear that, anything after that is recorded. Does that make sense? Any questions? All right. So you walk in, you get greeted by the English role player. The English role player will ask you to introduce yourself to the LOT role player. You will engage in a 2-minute conversation with the LOT role player, and then the English role player will ask you, we ready now? Okay, let's start. Recorded button. Okay. Of course, if it's a face-to-face task, it'll be audio and video recorded. If it's a telephone task, it's only audio recorded. You won't be able to see the role players, and they won't be able to see you.
When it's online.
And also when it's in person, because it's a telephone. It's a telephone task.
The 3 dialogues.
Oh, sorry,
I just probably got confused.
Ask
So when I walk into the test,
yes,
the role plays will be with me in the server room or not?
yes,
Yes.
yes. So even when it's virtual on the screen, and that you'll have one screen, right? Each role player, normally, or the room for the face-to-face tasks. You can see each other.
Yes.
But the remote task, which is only one, it's a telephone task.
Yes, I know.
So
yes.
it's not a FaceTime.
Yes, I got
All right, it's telephone.
So we do the protocols before.
Yes.
Okay, let's start.
Correct.
I introduce myself to the LOT.
Yeah.
And English speaker.
And most of the time, the role plays are different for each task.
Yes.
Not all the time, but most of the time they are. Especially for your bigger languages such as yours.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, now more specific about the face-to-face dialogues that we're talking about. So you are required, I've already said about being video coded, you are required to use the consecutive mode, so please don't use simultaneous, because that's not what you're tested on. So not only do you have to transfer the meaning, of course, accurately from one language to the other, but you do also have to show us or the examiners that you know what to do if something happens during the course of your dialogue, and how you would handle it, how you would manage that situation in real life. I'll give you examples in a minute. But as I said earlier, you can take that A4 interpreting brief 3 days before, and you can take notes on blank piece of paper.
So with the A4 paper, is it double-faced A4 or just
No,
one
the
A4?
normal.
Yeah, I know, but
Yes, you can put notes on the back and flip
That's
them.
what I meant.
Yeah, you can. That's fine. All right. So the telephone task is virtually the same, except audio recorded, still consecutive mode, managing the interaction, 1 A4 sheet plus notes. Now, a bit more detail on that will come, I think, when you actually are doing the test. So what will happen after that is each of the 3 tasks will be independently assessed, which means that the examiners will assess one task, and regardless of how you do on that one, it'll be independently, they'll assess the second and then the third. All right. if you click on the link, if you haven't looked at them already, the assessment rubrics, which are very important with the 5 bands on how you'll be assessed. Band number 1, of course, is the top. Band number 5 is the bottom. So they will assess your transfer skills and your language competency skills. You must pass all 3, and results are emailed to you, and roughly try to get them to you by 8 weeks. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, so it might take 10, but we're seeing the turnaround time a little bit quicker nowadays.
So is it one assess? I will assess the 3.
No, that's a good question. Two NAATI examiners, 2 independently of each other,
Yes.
and of each task. For each task, it's 2 examiners. So which gives you, of course, and if they,
Disagree or
if it's a big disagreement, then there'll be a 3rd. So there's always 2.
so one will
always.
examine the 3 and another one the 3 as well. So each
Sorry, say that again.
you've mentioned 2 examiners will assess the test. So each examiner will examine the 3 dialogues. Each
Yes.
of them, yes.
Yes, so each examiner is given, one person,
Yes.
one candidate.
Yes.
So that means I'll do all 3. So it won't be like, do 1 for that one and that. It'll be, you do, this candidate and that one. So you 2.
No, what I meant is, you mentioned 2 examiners will assess my test. Okay, so I've got 3 dialogues. So one examiner will assess 3 tests, and the second examiner also will assess the 3 tests.
Correct.
Yes, that's all.
Yes. All right. Any other question about the CPI? All right, I just want to clarify something. When I say, here it's in bold, it says manage the interaction, and there it says manage the interaction as well. So what that means is that purposely in your task, in your test task, there will be something that occurs so that you can demonstrate to the examiners, hey, I got this, right? For instance, if you're on the telephone call, it's sort of things that happen in real life, right? We try to do as much as possible, simulate a real life interpreting assignment. So in real life, in my life, how many times, and I'm sure yours, you're on the phone and sorry, can't hear you, or the phone broke up, or the phone, whatever. So what do? Naturally, you tell the person to repeat what they said. So just try to think of it as logic. If you can't hear, you can't interpret.
Yeah.
Right? And, there's no point in you trying to interpret something that you can't hear. So if you didn't hear, and because the aim is to interpret everything accurately, right? So if you can't hear, you've got to ask for a repeat, right? You don't get penalised for asking for a repeat, or if you're not quite sure of a word, they might be using a word that you don't use, right? So then you need to ask, what did you mean by that? What's that procedure? I don't know what that procedure is, for example. So there are these little curveballs thrown in on purpose, okay?
Yep, they're done on purpose for sure. So don't go and say, what is Nati doing? I can't hear what I'm over my phone, yeah? So it's done on purpose. You are supposed to manage that situation.
Thank you, Bingley. Thank you. And the other thing is, the other question I get before anyone asks me, I'm going to preempt it, right?
Yep.
Can you just speak in short sentences, right? No, you can't say that, right? Because the whole purpose of sitting the test is for you to, yes, meaning transfer accurately and all that stuff, but also, because in real life, what happens is things happen, when you're in hospital, it does my head in, you've got someone over the loudspeaker talking, I can't hear what you just said, so how can I do my job and interpret faithfully if there's a loudspeaker? So just don't freak out, right? You've got a really good position here now. Your students, well in advance what to expect. Just, I think sometimes it's just common sense, to be honest. You just ask for a repeat. Okay. When I said you can't ask for short sentences, you can ask for pauses. All right?
We can.
Yes.
What about for speak slowly, not speak too fast?
Okay, that's another good question. So if you find that, this, because sometimes, maybe they're mumbling, doctors sometimes will just sort of say, can you just repeat that just this slower for me, please? Right? Yes, definitely do that. But you can't from the beginning in your little spiel say, speak really slowly and just one sentence at a time. All right, for example, because some people, it's good to know these things, right, Bingwen? All right, so now you all know, so you have no excuses. I'm going to touch on the certified interpreter test because I think there's some people online that it's really relevant to, and hopefully once you get your CPI, you might get your CI because you do have a bit of an advantage. They normally start with the CI level when they're allocating jobs. So let's see what you need to do. So let's just say you got your CPI, right, out of the way. Great, congratulations.
Thank you.
Then you have to come back and do the CI, which consists of only those 6 tasks. Remember, 2 slides, 2 consecutive monologues, 2 simultaneous monologues. So these are all done online. So you don't even have to come into the office. They're all online. And I've even got a short little video. Oh, I might not play the video, especially since that we're running out of time. But there is a link. It's also just gone up on our website, actually, about what to do for the CI test. So if you're really interested, you can have a look at that. But I won't show the video now.
So are we getting a copy of this?
Yes.
Sorry, I have a question. Did you get an answer about the site translation?
I did. So that's why I'm here, to give you all the answers that you need. All right. So the good thing about the CI test that's online, there's a few good things. No, it is delivered through this platform called Televic that we use, and you have a practice test. So you can do a full practice test in language prior to your test. All right. Online. So it's for you to practice to see what it's going to be like when you do the real one. So it's exactly the same, right? Obviously the tasks are different content, but anyway, it is in language. You do need, because it's online, it's proctored, right? Which means someone's watching. You need to hold up your ID. That's that second one. You're not allowed to use any resources. That is actually not true. I've got to change that because you are allowed to use resources for your site translation, the whitelist. Okay, so that's no longer relevant. You will be visible. Someone is watching, so a human being, not a robot, or an avatar, artificial intelligence is a real human being. So you're not allowed to obviously talk to anyone, and you've got to make sure that your environment is adaptable. Sometimes the word says suitable. Suitable to, but you will get an information session and all that sort of stuff. We'll give you all the support beforehand anyway. So the good news is I'm going to go through the 3 different types of tasks, and I'll ask you a question in the meantime. So 2 site translation tasks. One's into your load, then the other into English. Each text is approximately 200 words long, and you will be provided with the task material on your screen. Get ready for this. You can actually copy or select or copy and then paste it into a little notebook, and you can make the changes.
Okay.
And do all your little
editing, yeah.
Editing.
Or do my slashes and.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually type out the words that you're going to say.
Okay.
So, and you can use that white list of resources in that but you've only got 5 minutes. So, right? What do you do? But that's fantastic news. So, in whatever language, if you've got different, as long as you've got your Arabic or keyboard, then you can use the word, what's it called, the editor, to actually get your site translation all ready to go, and then press the record button and you start recording. And that video has got all that information, so I'll let you do that in your own time.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes to prepare and 5 minutes to complete the task. 5 minutes is more than enough time.
So those,
but as I pointed out last time, in the real world,
those who are intending to do this credential, please make sure you know how to type in your own load, because nobody's going to teach you, yeah? So we don't do load typing course, but you have to know how to do it yourself. So those, if you need a special keyboard, please, if you're doing this course, please make sure you have it ready, because it will not be provided. NATI will not provide you with one. Okay?
Good point. All right, so that's sight translation. Then you've got consecutive interpreting monologues, and you get the brief a week before, emailed to you. You don't get any preparation time on the day. It's a 3-part monologue, and it's an audio recording, again, online. You'll have on that online platform.
The monologue, how many minutes?
So 300 minutes.
Normally monologue.
No, okay, so there's 2 types of monologues. This is the consecutive interpreting one, which means you'll hear it's 300 in total, right? So you'll hear about 100 words, pause and stop, and then you press record button, you record yourself, you take notes, and then you do the next 100, I'm saying approximately, if we don't count them. And then you do that recording, and then you do the last one. Three parts, and there are 2 of them, one into Loge, one into English.
And you hear it only once?
Once, yeah.
Good question, yeah, only once. You can't repeat, you can't ask for a repeat or a clarification or a pause, not for this. It's a recording, but also that doesn't happen in real life.
Why like we can't ask for a repeat?
Because if you go, okay, let's say you're at a conference and someone's talking, right, and you're the interpreter, right? You're not going to say to the speaker, look, sorry, can you just start that again? Right? Right? So we're simulating real life. It's up to you to take comprehensive notes or have a really good memory, or both. Yeah. All
So
right.
I guess you can't, if you're interpreting for Albanese, your prime minister, you can't ask him to repeat. Hang on, what did you say? Can you say that again? So you can't actually do that. Yeah. So that's why monologue, you will have to do it once off. And just to point out, this is CI monologue. So it is in 3 parts. 100 words per part, so it is 300 words, okay? So all the diploma students, we do have monologues for you for your test, and that is only 2 parts and only 200 words, okay? So we haven't pushed you to the limit, but some of our material are actually longer than 100 words, so don't come crying, oh, quickly, this monologue is more than 100 words, okay? I've done it on purpose. I've made that up on purpose so that you get more practice. All right?
Well done, Big Lee. I'm sure there's someone that does count the words and comes and tells you that there's 2 in there. There's always one person.
Yeah, I get students who say, why is it so long? And
then the other one that's, why is it so short?
I need those more. I need more of those sort of students. Okay? So this is not long already. When I was doing the test, I had 300 words in one go.
Really?
No break, not in 3 parts. Just one, all the way 300 words.
For your consecutive?
For my consecutive.
Yeah, but when did you do your test? Way before my time. Right?
Yeah, that was why it was 300 words, okay? In one go. So in 3 goes is already pretty good. 100 words is pretty okay.
Yeah.
We did in the test.
And look, it's similar with the simultaneous. Look at the word consecutive. What consecutive means one after the other. Simultaneous means at the same time. So you've got simultaneous interpreting monologues too, one in either direction. They are also 300 words, but there's no breaks. There's no pauses. There's nothing. There's just someone talking. You need to start interpreting. You need a headset, by the way, for this test. You need to start interpreting only a few seconds after you hear. You only really, write down what you need to, and then at the end, and you should finish just after the speaker on your headset finishes, because it's the same time. Some people think this is the hardest.
No.
And some people think it's the easiest.
It's the easiest because I don't have to take notes.
Yeah. The only notes you take is maybe a phone number or an address or something like that. Yes.
About the simultaneous, are you interpreting just like you hear and speak at the same moment, or
yes?
Because that's
It'll
why
be a
I
few
think it might be hard, because how can you focus on listening when you're speaking?
Well, you know why? Because we have 2 ears and one mouth, so you've got to listen twice as much as what you say. No, think about it.
A scientific reason.
Yeah. Biological. Yeah, scientific, you're right. So, anyway, that whole process takes about 25 minutes. You do get a break in between, and it's the same for the consecutive. I don't really want to go into it because I don't want to confuse you too much, because we're here to focus on the CI. But if you want to know more, here's the link. It's just fresh. It's just gone up. It'll show you exactly what to do if you want to do this, take the CI test. All right? It's an instructional video. So, again, similarly to the CPI, 2 NAATI examiners will examine or assess your performance, and in all the same ways, with assessment rubrics that are for the CI level, of course, and you must pass all six tasks. I haven't mentioned about supplementary. I didn't do that, did I? So supplementary tests for the CPI, I'm only going to talk about. If you pass or if you attempt all 3 tasks and fail 1, then when you get your results in the email, it will say you're eligible for a supplementary test. You need to apply within 30 days, and but you need to sit the supplementary test next time we're testing your language. Just that one task. It'll be different material, but it's just that one task. If you pass that one task, you get the CPI. All right? But you can only sit that sub-test once. Okay, here's some good stuff for you all. Some resources. Who likes resources? No one? One person? Yes. These are all for you.
Because you have too many assignments now for them.
All right. So the first one is a preparation book, which is really what I would do as a revision after you finish this course, because it is something you're doing the diploma, right? This is sort of like a summary of everything that you've learned. So after you finish the course, maybe do that and see, just to refresh or revise. The second one is really good. The second one is some practice materials in language. So in your languages, they're all covered. And if you speak more than one language, then you can try it in both. So there is a face-to-face example and a remote example in language of an interpreting text. Okay, so it's an online version, but it's there, and you can record yourself. You can send it off to you can work together with a peer, with one of your colleagues in your language. I'll do yours, and you do mine, that type of thing, and they can assess you. Or you could even ask your tutor when you do your in-language tutorials. There is also some CI preparation module. I think this is just English, the English one. You can do that too. And so this is, see how it says NAATI Learn, that's different to My NAATI. So if you go to NAATI Learn, register, it's all free. You can actually, there's some modules there that you can use to practice. Even there's translation ones, you can have a go at that. All right, so they're there for you. And here's some useful links. We're on LinkedIn. Who receives the NAATI newsletter? No one? Okay, it's so good. I recommend you enroll, you subscribe to receive that now. It comes out once a month, the second Wednesday of every month, and it's jam-packed full of really good stuff. So you can feel free to subscribe now. We have a YouTube channel. Then we also have on our website this upcoming PD events, which once you have got your certification, you'll need that because you need to get your points for research. You can become a member of OSIT. I know that students pay less if you're interested in that. Oh, and there's the CIP. If you want to learn more about the recommendations and whatnot, there's a link for you. As promised, I will touch on recertification. So all credentials do need to be recertified every 3 years. There is a link to know more information, but essentially interpreters need 40 assignments per annum, which isn't a lot. And and 120 over the 3 years. The good news is if you have more than one credential, like you are a translator and an interpreter, or you're interpreting Arabic and French, then you only need to do PDs for one. All right, you don't have to do it twice. You just have to show work practice. So if you want, you have to do 120 Arabic jobs and 120 French jobs, or 120 Mandarin jobs and 30,000 words over 3 years. Just your work practice. But everything else, your PDs, they are suitable for both. All right, so talking about PDs, there are 3 different areas or categories. So you've got your skills development and knowledge about the interpreting, or translating. Industry engagement. Now this is where you need to have, that's compulsory, 10 points of ethics is compulsory. So when you're looking at which PD should I do, always go for one that has ethics in it, because if you don't do that, then you won't be able to gain your recertification. Maintenance of the language, at least we can travel now to our countries and get, like if you're there for more than 2 weeks, it's 20 points, so you're halfway there. But over COVID, there's been a lot of creative ways to maintain a language, so there are other methods of gaining points in that.
So when you
category.
said to maintain the language, if we go back home, could be just like any family visit, like if I go back home for 3 weeks.
Yes.
As long as I book my ticket and I go back to the country that it's my load, it's fine.
Absolutely.
So I don't have to do any like special courses over there or
No, that's just one category, which is
okay.
maintaining a language.
Okay, so I just prove, I went back home, this is my, ticket,
Yeah. But thank you for bringing it up, because there's something that I think is really good to know, and this is my little tips for you. When you, at the end of the 3 years, what I do, or just before, so 3 months prior to your credential expiring, you will get an email saying your credential is going to expire in 3 months. So I recommend, because it can take up to 6 weeks to do the whole assessment of your recertification, you can. And if it expires, then you're working for a language service provider, you'll be paid non-accredited rates, which is a lot lower. So make sure you get it in before the 3 years. That's what I'm trying to say.
Load everything I do, straight away. It will be much easier.
Yeah. Okay, so you ask your language service provider for a letter. It's an automatically generated letter that says your name, your language, your credential, and how many jobs you did on site and how many jobs you did remotely.
You mean the agency?
Yes, I mean the agent. Language service provider is another. An agency is the same thing. Okay. Another way of saying it. Thank you. So what you do is you upload that letter that comes via email, and you upload that where it says 120. You need 120 jobs. As long as it's got more than 120, you don't need to. And some of you might work for a whole range of agencies or language service providers. You don't have to. Remember, I said at the beginning, we don't want to see every single job that you've done.
Yeah, but 120, including those as well. Or
including
120 interpreting.
I'll go back because
I got confused.
Yes,
so
I think so.
That. Okay, so I've got to have 120 assignment over the last 3 years.
Yes.
Okay, which is 40 hours per year. But those 120 in total, are they just interpreting or they're including PD?
Just interpreting.
Okay.
So
yes.
there's just so I am clear.
Yes.
You do need to have.
I got the hours and the assignment.
So here it says work practice criteria.
Yes.
And then you've got professional development criteria. There's 2 different things. Okay. 2 totally different things. Work practice is one, yes. Right? Whether you are an interpreter or a translator or interpreting in different languages, you need to show minimum of 120.
Yes.
Lovely. Yes. And then you also need to have 120, because they're both 120. I get 120 points over 3 years for PD. So what happens is I know there's PDs that you have here as well. You can go anywhere for PDs, professional development, and at the bottom normally they say this professional development event, or you'll be eligible for 10 points under section 1.4 of your logbook, for example. So normally they say down the bottom. So what you should do is straight away after you get your certificate of attendance or whatever, upload it onto your Mainati logbook, and then you don't have to worry about it. Because some people do get, what's the word I'm looking for? Francesca, now I need your help. When they pick some people to do the whole
Audit.
Thank you. That's the word. It just didn't come to me. Yeah. So you can get audited, and if you get audited and you haven't got all your things there, then you won't be able to bring them and say, hey, remember that PD? Can you give me it? Unless you want someone to. All right. Don't worry. Don't do that. Just upload it straight away. Then you don't have to worry about it. And it's on your Mainati. Remember, Mainati is have a look at my logbook. All right.
So 120 hours of interpreting plus another 120 points of those PDE courses. Okay.
Correct. And that's it.
Yes. So
no more.
20 each. Okay.
All right. Now, if you want to contact us, the best way to do it is via email. And there is, this is our central one, and it does, it says what's written there is actually what happens. You do get a response within 2 days. Okay. Check out the NAATI website. It's just been relaunched and redone, so it's hopefully easier to navigate because there is a lot of information on there. So I must admit, I still go into the little search button and I just write the keyword in there, and sometimes it's easier, but it is much easier to navigate nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is. If there's anyone that has any more questions, speak now or forever hold your peace. All right.
Okay.
Of course you can.
If someone is an interpreter for 2 languages, like CPI for 2 languages,
Yes.
do they have to do 120, so like each language?
Yes,
No.
they do.
I wanted to clarify.
Yes, you do. But remember the 120 points for the PD, you don't have to. You just one.
Do we need to set the test twice for each
Yes. Okay. So you might be doing. Let's say I'll use what's your name, girl?
Dima.
Dima.
Yes.
I'll use Dima as an example.
Yes.
Unless do you speak French as well? Oh, you speak Quattro. You speak 4. All right. So once you finish the diploma of interpreting, it means that remember you're eligible to sit the test.
Yeah.
So sit the test. Always pick your strongest, your mother tongue, right? Sit in that one, and your diploma already makes you eligible to sit in any other language.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to do any more courses.
Yeah. So you can come and sit
eligible.
the Chinese test if you want.
No way.
Okay. Sorry, I've got a question here.
Yes.
It says that are we able to sit for supplementary tests if we fail 1 or more tasks during the CI test? For CI, I mean, you were talking about
That's right.
CPI 3
Yeah.
dialogues. You fail 1, you can sit supplementary.
Yeah.
So if you have a CPI already.
That's a really good question. Thank you.
Sorry.
And essentially the
someone's
answer is
asked-
this. I don't know. But I've got an expert on my right who's just finding out now. Because it used to be out of 8 tasks, it used to be you had to pass 5. Now that there's only 6 tasks, I don't know. So it's a really good question. That's a question of the day, all right? Because I don't know either. And you know what? I thought, I hope no one asked me that question because I don't know the answer. And there it is.
Someone's asked the question.
Okay. Any other ones?
No, that was the only one I saw.
All right.
So
Okay,
I've
I'll
asked
have
them
a
to
live
put.
question here. Yes.
If I graduate from this course, I don't want to take a break because this course is very intensive.
Sure.
So maybe the years a little bit longer, maybe 1 year or 2 years.
That's a good question. I know the answer to this one. You've got 3 years.
I've got 3 years.
From the date of completion of your
Sit for your test.
to sit for your test. After 3 years, don't let it go for that much because then after 3 years, you'll have to sort of go do extra tests. You'll have to do an ethical competency test and an intercultural competency test, and then you can sit the test, because it's been a long time. So you can take up to 3 years, but don't wait that long, especially, I mean, even if you want to do it in the third year, just book, book it.
Just book it in before the 3 years is up.
Yeah.
3 years, but like.
After 3 years, you can, no, you can do it, but there's additional steps.
Okay. Now, I also have one question. So say if I've got several,
Thank you.
if I've got 2 languages, so I finish this course, so I'm eligible to sit for 1 language. So if I go away and set for, say, Mandarin, okay, and then maybe I want to sit my Cantonese test, for example. So has that got to be within the 3 years, or?
No.
So I can do 5 years, 6 years later, I can still sit for it because I've got CPI. Okay.
Because there's different pathways, remember?
Yes,
One of the pathways is holding a credential.
Yep.
So as long as it's still valid, you hold it.
Okay.
I do have an answer to the question that was asked before about silent translation, for supplementary tests for CI tests. Can you repeat that, because there was interference and I couldn't hear. No, I was just practicing. If you fail 2 out of the 6, then you're eligible for supplementary.